Education in Minnesota, and I live and work down here helping people access food resources like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Last spring, a sociology class did a food insecurity study here on campus, and they found that Minnesota State University Mankato has a higher level of food insecurity than the national average. Nationally, universities are seeing 14 to 59% food insecurity. MSU tested out or surveyed out at about 64%. And I have a link on here for that study, and I can make this available if anybody wants it. I want to talk about how students here are able to use community resources. So there is a campus food shelf over, it's at Crossroads Campus Ministry. It's called Campus Covered. It's a free food shelf. Students can go once a week and get groceries. They are only open one day a week because it's grad student staffed, but it's free groceries. Echo Food Shelf downtown. Students can go to Echo Food Shelf. They can go once a month and get a full grocery run. They can go once a week after that and get produce and bread. Free groceries. Students can go down there and access that. Other things that are available, 211 is a great resource for just general, you don't know where to go find something, go to 211. MVAC has energy assistance, rent assistance. Salvation Army, same thing. If you have students that you're working with that have landlord-tenant disputes, Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, or SMERLS, is a great resource. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, where you get an EBT card, and it functions like a debit card, and you go to the grocery store. Every $5 in SNAP money, which is federal money, coming into our local community generates $8.50 in local economic spending. I'm running through these really fast. The monthly minimum is $15. The average monthly benefit is $111 per person. So that's a significant amount of money. Even if you get the minimum, that's $180 a year towards your groceries. Minnesota has a really good participation rate, but Blue Earth County does not. Based on statistics, we're looking at around a 40% participation rate, and I think some of that is students here on campus. So we're trying to reach those folks. Don't expect you to retain all this. You have my contact information. In front of you on the table, there is a application called a combined application form. This is what you fill out to get SNAP or food assistance. It's 10 pages long. There's a small piece of paper with income guidelines and my contact information. Call me if you have questions. Send students my way. What I do is I fill out this form with folks and then help them get through that process. Turn it in, do the interview with the county, get all your supporting documents, all of that. When in doubt, send folks my way. If they don't qualify for SNAP, I'm going to send them to the food shop. I'm going to send them to Open Door Health Center. I'm going to talk about the emergency grant that you have on campus if they're a student here. There's all kinds of eligibility requirements. First of all, for SNAP, you must be a citizen or fit a certain eligibility category. Households are all different. We look at all kinds of different households and help the student determine where they fit in that and who would be part of their household on the application. We look at gross monthly income. There are the income guidelines. Household of one, it's $1,670 gross per month, so that's before all the taxes. There are specific rules that apply to college students. You have to meet a certain exemption, or you have to be working 20 hours a week paid employment. And so that's another conversation I have when I'm screening folks. The food insecurity study that was done by the Sociology and Action class that I referenced earlier had some suggestions for actions. There's somebody who's working on campus regarding like a van to go to the grocery store where you'd sign up and they would do a dedicated run so that you'd have time to get to the grocery store, haul back your groceries, all of that, because the bus system isn't the best for that. And some other suggestions there. And that's all I have.
Floor is open to questions. Senator Christensen.
Thank you. How long is the process to be accepted into the SNAP kind of program? Because you were saying a lot of steps that go into it. Do you have like an estimated time?
Good question. So somebody contacts me, we can do an application over the phone, I can send them information to do it online. As soon as that's turned into the county, they have 30 days to respond. If you're in Hennepin County or Ramsey County, you're lucky to hear in 30 days. Blue Earth County, you're hearing within 3 to 5 days. And so then there's a process where you have to do an application. Supporting documents have to be turned in. Typically, if everybody's on the ball and everything falls into place, we can get this done within 2 weeks. That's why the food shelf is important, because that's your immediate source of food.
Vice President Ogunfalami.
Can you go back to that first slide, or the first slide that had all that information of like resources?
Yep. That one?
That one, yes. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Floor is still open for questions. Senator Sajal.
Is there any option for the international students, or will there be any option for the international students?
Good question. For SNAP, no. International students who are here on the DACA program will not qualify. That's where the food shelf comes in. You can go to both Campus Covered and Echo Food Shelf, so there's a regular supply of food available. It's not huge. It's not your whole food budget or your whole weekly food amount, but it sure helps. And then we're working on getting a produce distribution on campus. We did one on move-in day over at Campus Covered. We're working on getting another one maybe in the spring. And I just want to say, from August 1st through the end of September, I've done 18 applications for MSU students this year. So the referrals are coming in from folks on campus, and I just encourage you to be part of that process.
Floor is still open for questions. Seeing no further questions, thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
We will now proceed with our last presentation for the day. It's from Residential Life Director Cindy Janey.
Just wave at me and I'll throw it down.
There we go. We'll start there. Hello, student government. Thank you for inviting me and for your collaboration in this process to help me consult with students on residence hall room and board rates. This is the first of several presentations where I'll come and meet with you. So I'll talk, this is really about how does this process work, okay? What I'm going to cover in this presentation is what are room and board rates, and we're actually changing our language there. We're going to, instead of saying board, which is sort of very old-fashioned language, we're going to change that to room and meal plan rates because it's much more readily apparent what that means. It was probably called board 150 years ago, so in recognition of our sesquicentennial, we'll move forward to the next 150 years and go with room and meal plan. We'll talk about what student consultation, what that process is, what defines it, and changes that have come from this process in the past, and then how the process continues. Thanks. Next one. Okay, so what are room and board rates? So room and meal plan rates. The room rates specifically are the fees that students pay to live in university supervised housing. So that's McElroy, Crawford, Julius Sears, Prescott, Stadium Heights. Next slide. Covers more things than apartment rates cover. So the room and the furnishings, the utilities, power, heat, cooling where that's offered. Currently we offer cooling in 75% of our spaces. When we open next fall, it'll be 85% of our spaces. Cable and internet, and that internet is both wired and wireless. Laundry is covered in the room rate. Water, sewer, trash, recycling. The common area amenities, the cleaning and the maintenance, services at front desks, res tech services for residence hall students is covered in the room rate, and also staff supervision. What's covered in the meal plan rate? The meal plan rate covers the food, the staff that make and serve the food, that order it and plan it, the staff that clean it up, maintenance of the dining equipment. I can tell you that at any given moment there's something wrong with 12 to 20 things in the dining center. There's so many pieces of equipment in there, and we've got people who meet every week and talk about what's broken, what's the status of getting the parts ordered, getting it fixed. Utilities, so water, electricity, and gas that serves the dining center, and Chet's and 1872 Grill. Let's see, cleaning and maintenance of dining spaces, disposable items like cups and napkins, which is, the desire is to have that be zero, but when the dish machine goes down and we need to use them to provide service to students, then we have to have them available. Utensils, pots and pans, to-go containers, computers, cash registers, software licensing, also refuse removal, which is costs us 15% less since we implemented composting in the dining center. Yay. Okay, setting rates for next year. We look at the current expenses that we have. We looked at the expenses that are projected for the next year for both room and meal plans. We have processes for meal plans that direct us to look at the consumer price index. We work with finance and administration on these. We determine what rates will cover the expenses that we see and the reinvestment in the facilities. We talk about new services and amenities that students may want, and we set a rate that will meet all of those needs. Generally, that's the process. Okay, the Students United group was talking about a tuition freeze, and oftentimes students will ask me, well, now wait a minute, there's a tuition freeze, so how come room and meal plan rates are going up? Well, you are familiar with the definitions, but many students are not familiar with the definitions. You know that tuition, if you can share broadly with your constituents, that tuition is for instruction, and the university services that support instruction. So all students pay tuition. Tuition's a required fee. Tuition freeze doesn't apply to room and board rates. Room and meal plan rates are a fee a student chooses to pay. Now, not all students feel like they're choosing. They may feel like their parents chose. But they're choosing to pay that fee for the specific service. It's not mandatory because the university does not have a policy that requires students to live on campus. So residence halls and student unions are part of the revenue fund and operate a lot like individual businesses within the context of the university. We have long-term debt, like a mortgage for a house. That's different from the university. And part of student room rates go toward that debt payment. Okay, questions up to this point?
Any questions?
Okay, I'm going to keep moving, but if a question pops into your mind about that stuff, I'm willing to take it with the speaker's permission. So what's the student consultation process look like? Okay, so student consultation means that the university shares information about the process with student leaders. Students ask questions and provide input. Students vote on the recommendations for improvement options. The Board of Trustees considers the rate proposals that will forward to them for what the room and meal plan rates will be. They actually have the approval authority. They have said they want to see evidence that the campus staff are not just making this up and doing it behind a curtain, but they are consulting with students in the process. Okay? So the Board of Trustees has legal authority to set the fees. They usually do that in June before those fees for residence halls would start in August. We like to get our rates consultation process done in the fall semester before that following August, so we can post those rates over winter break. Because if you are a senior in high school and you're making your plans for the next year, you want to know what your expenses are going to be, and so we want to get that out there so people can see what that is. Let me see. The Board of Trustees, well, there's both a student government and a residence hall association on this campus. Not all campuses have a residence hall association. So the Board of Trustees says we're going to make things easy for ourselves, and we're going to say we want to get a letter of consultation from the student government on each campus. So on this campus, what I've done is traditionally, and we did again this year, was set up a process so that instead of talking with RHA for a while and coming up with an outcome, and then student government saying, hey, we want to get in the game. We come up with a process where we're going back and forth to both organizations and inviting student government to come to RHA, and it's very common that the on-campus senators do that. So we started with the presentations to RHA, and RHA started last week, and then you're getting that same presentation tonight. And then after Thanksgiving is where this voting will come in, where RHA is, they're voting on the improvement options, and they're voting on whether or not they had a chance to learn about the process and ask questions. Okay? So what kind of changes have come from this process? A whole long list of things. The water bottle fillers on drinking fountains came because RHA said, yes, we want that and we want to pay for it. Ice machines that are available on the main level of residence communities. When we first started doing to-go meals in the dining center, we had styrofoam containers, and students said we want reusable containers, so that came from that process. The food service hours. When I first came to the university, dinner during the week ended at 7 o'clock. Olden days, I know. And so students said, we want more hours. And so the hours that we currently have come through, over the years, expanding them through this process. Desk supplies, an RHA promo item, the toilet paper. So toilet paper in our private bathrooms. When we first opened Julia Sears, we did not provide the toilet paper in the bathrooms that are in between the bedrooms. Now we do. We used to have the inferior 1-ply toilet paper. Now we have the superior 2-ply toilet paper through the feedback of students who are representing all residence hall students. So realize your career dreams and become a director of residential life, and you too can spend your days talking about toilet paper. Also, water filters in the floor kitchens. We have floor kitchens in our Mac, Crawford, Julia Sears, and Presca communities, and each of those has a sink, and those sinks have water filters, so there's purified water available up on floors. So what did RHA vote for last year? Last year, ultimately, they picked two things that have been typical things each year: the desk checkout supplies for $1, and then the RHA promotional item, and it was $5 last year. I just didn't get my slide updated, for a water bottle. Those are what they selected. There were other items on the ballot.
We have about a minute remaining. Just wait.
Okay, I'm right on it. So last week, the TVs and floor lounges were on the ballot last year. They were pretty grossly expensive. Water towels, paper towels in floor bathrooms were on there too. There ends up being a lot of reasons why people choose not to do that. The other ideas that came up were several ideas for expansions of hours in the dining center or Chet's and 1872 Grill. Let's see, fire extinguisher in every bedroom. Anybody who remembers, if I can invite you to just holler out and help me here. Garbage disposal and floor sinks, floor kitchen sinks.
Ledges and Julia Sears.
Ledges and Julia Sears.
Reslife will be touching on it later today with more ideas.
Great. So you'll hear more about it later. So there have been a number of ideas, and then I and residential life staff are working on those, getting more information to take back to RHA, and they will ultimately take these ballots back to their floors for voting. So the next time I meet with RHA, I'm talking about the budget assumptions for next year, the base rate, which doesn't include those improvement options, and then the first round of the information I have available on improvement options. So with that, I'm willing to stand for questions.
Floor is open for questions. Seeing none, thank you for your... Oh, Vice President Ogun Falami.
Sorry. So with that student consultant process, it says that you connect with student leaders. Is like Res Life those student leaders, or do you do outreach within besides like just student leaders and RHA?
I go to this body and to RHA. Yep. And so I met with with your president, and I met with the RHA president and put together a schedule of how those meetings would happen back and forth. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Thank you for your investment in this process in the past, and again this year I really appreciate it.
That concludes our presentations for the day. We will now proceed into open forum. Is there anyone here to speak for open forum? Yes, please come to the podium.
Elliot with Maverick Adventures, just letting you guys know we'll have an outdoor cooking event with Maverick Adventures pilot programs next Tuesday, October 30th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the PA lawn. It's a free event. There's no registration. Just bring yourself. It's a drop-in type of event, and we'll see you then.
Vice President Open Forum.
I have a comment for you. I do enjoy that you keep us updated on what Maverick Adventures is doing, especially because we're still in the pilot phase trying to get, more feedback and more people to attend. I would appreciate if there was like a flyer too that we could like take pictures of, that way we can spread the word that way as well. Because now we know, but then it's like,
Totally. I can get a flyer out to you guys.
just for future reference, because I know you'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
Senator Erickson.
What were the times again?
12 to 4.
12 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you.
Further questions? Is there anyone else to speak for open forum? Previous President Abdulaziz.
Hello, I'm Elisa,
Hi, I'm Abdulaziz.
and we're just here to formally invite you guys about an event to an event that we're holding here in Ostrander.
Yep.
It's going to be held November 9th. It's a
Legal career panel.
yeah.
So, again, we're here to formally invite you guys. We are on the executive board for PreLaw Society this year. We've been largely inactive for the last 3 years, but this year we've gotten really good consistent numbers. So we're doing events, and we're even volunteering with the Haunted House. Spooky. So, again, with the event that we're here to invite you to, it's called the Legal Career Panel. So what we've done is we reach out to some prominent lawyers and people, basically people with JDs from all different industries of the legal profession, and we've invited them to come to our campus, talk to our students, share their experience, give advice to people who are interested in going to law school. Some of the names that we have already is partners from Kennedy and Kennedy, from Canute and Casey. We have a former lawyer who used to work for MSSA, way to bed, but now he is Vice President of Trust and Counsel at Preferred Bank, so he'll be here. Nick French will be here. We talked to the Attorney General's office this morning, so we're waiting on confirmation, and we'll know by noon tomorrow. So basically what it is we have a panel of 8 people coming, and we are going to moderate it, and we're going to then, after talking with them and asking them questions, we'll give students opportunities to ask questions. And so that's our formal invitation. As for flyers, we're waiting to get a formal confirmation from the people, so we'll be back next we'll be back next week with flyers, and then we can give them to you and you can share. So basically we're coming to MSSA as an ask to help us promote, possibly sponsor the event, get the word out, let your constituents know, and anything else I'm saying?
No, hope to see you guys all there. November 9th. It's from 4:30 to 6:30, I believe.
Yep.
So yeah.
So we'll be doing heavy promoting after we've gotten all of this finalized.
All right.
Any questions or comments for the Pre-Law Society? Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Do we have any further speakers for open forum? I'm not seeing any, so with that, we'll then proceed to the approval of the consent agenda. President Cronin.
To amend the appointments to include under the Elections Commission Abdul Aziz and Allison Allen.
That is a motion to add Abdul Aziz and Allison Allen to the Elections Commission under appointments. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Ramsey. Is there any dissent to the amendment? Seeing none, it is then so amended. Senator Mitchell.
Motion to amend agenda to include Senator Sampson on my
Senator Annabelle Simpson. Is that in addition to Emily Albright as well? Oh, that's Emma Zelmer. My bad. Yes. Is there a second to adding Senator Annabelle Sampson under Senator Sam Mitchell's Senate report? Right. Any dissent? Seeing none, it is so amended. Were there any further amendments to be made? Is there any dissent to approving the consent agenda? Seeing none, the agenda has been approved. We will now move into officer reports, starting with President Cronin.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. So really quick few things. One, for those of you who signed up to help with the haunted house, we'll be participating in that in this room. So expect an email from me later tonight regarding your involvement and the theme of our room. I'll leave it a secret for those of you who will be walking through. Second, we have the November meet and confer next week. So I will pass around this sign-up sheet for 5 senators to sign up. If you're interested but you don't get to sign up because it's filled, please reach out to me after this meeting. As well as if you sign up, please make sure that you are attending, and if you're not, you are letting me know that you won't be able to make it with prompt time. And then last, something you have in front of you, one of the many things, is the FAQ regarding the sports bubble. I just want to thank Todd for putting that together for us. You're over there. Thank you so much for giving us all this information so we can have a discussion tonight about it. And with that, I yield.
Questions for President Cronin? Seeing none, we'll then move into an officer report from Vice President Megan Falami.
Hey guys, lovely people. I have a couple things, so please bear with me. I'll try to make it breezy. So just covering, I've been starting my officer reports a little, better late than never. So those are happening. I've met with a couple people already, and I already do feel like I'm getting connected to what you guys do better, as well as you as individuals better. So if you haven't done that doodle yet, please do. Also, if you haven't filled out that get to know you sheet that I share when I share that doodle, please also do that. I will share it with you so I can get that little bit of who you are before I meet with you or while I meet with you. Also, I have a couple of students night updates. As you know, Kayla and Krista mentioned, we are doing important work. So, Delegates is coming up. So Delegates is November 16th to 18th. And so one thing that the board had decided on was to allow the committee coordinator to decide who goes. And then, to have the support and the backing from the board member. So I am not certain how I will pick that yet, but I do want you guys to know that I'm going to be selective because I do want people that want to do the work to be there. Delegates in the past, sometimes people are just relaxing in the back, not really invested. I do want us to use our efforts to the best of our ability because Students United is actually trying to make change. So we need people that want to make change involved in it. So if you're interested in attending, please send me an email. I need to see that initiative on your part. Send me that email so I know that you're wanting to go. So that I can connect you and figure out how many spots and get you involved so that I can also outreach to the community and see who wants to go that's involved in political science and things like that as well. So, Students United, I want to talk about this a little bit because we all are amazing student leaders at this table, right? We all are all here to speak on behalf of our constituency. So Students United, I think, is something that oftentimes gets undershadowed within Senate, but it is an important part of Senate, and it actually is an important part of our state because it does represent those 7 Minnesota state schools, and it is the voice for those schools. So you being in these seats are people that can help spread that word. You can help let your fellow students know what Students United does because it's directly impacting them. As you saw, that tuition freeze, that's for you guys. That's not for a board of adults. Not that you're not adults, but a board of older, people that aren't in school. That's for us. That the work with immigration representation, that's for people that need it on our campus and on other campuses and and you are the people that help spread that knowledge to those students that might need it and might not know that they have it as a resource to them. Students United, the fee for it is built directly into your tuition. So it's 47 cents for every credit. So like you are paying for Students United. Like we are a nonprofit because we're run by the students. Literally, you're paying to do it because it is for you. So as senators, I want you to make sure that you're letting your constituency know, hey, do you know about Students United? Like I know you know about student government, but do you know about what works with them? Well, yeah, here's what this is. If you want a little spiel, come to me. I can give you some more information. I can give you some handouts, all that jazz. We also would love assistance with tabling and things like that. We're going to be tabling November 5th and November 6th for some pre-election information as well as some information on election day. We're doing a Why I Vote whiteboard initiative, so if you want to swing by, I'll give you more information when those dates get closer. Please do, because that information is crucial, and we would love to have you guys all involved in that video because this is for you, led by us. Also, yeah, I already said that. We also are working with like the IFO, as Kayla mentioned, reaching out to that faculty union just because we want to make sure that faculty knows that we're here and for the students, as well as that kind of have that balance between what we do and what they do and how to represent both parties equally. That's one thing. Also, that SNAP program that was mentioned earlier, I think that's super important. So like as a res life senator, as an off-campus senator, I hope you're thinking about how that can reach your constituency, how that can affect your constituency, how you can make that information more available to your constituency. We all are in positions to make amazing change, but you guys have to do that work because you're the ones that are here and volunteered and signed up to do that work. So just keep that in mind. That same thing kind of goes with like the tech fee, like Mark Johnson was talking about. That's really important too. So like find friends that like CSET majors, find friends that are in engineering, find friends that like IT, get them involved. Hey, do you know about this tech committee? Hey, do you know about this? Because those are the ones that are going to be helping get connected so we can get better access to the things that we want on campus. You want better printing? It starts right here. So that's some input that I have for you all. That's pretty much it. I just want to see us continue to do amazing things. You all do amazing work, and I love what you're doing, and I want you to continue to be amazing senators. So I'm always here for you guys.
Questions for Vice President Ogunfalami? Seeing none, we will then proceed into my officer report. I don't want to take up too much time since we have so many senator reports going on, so I'll keep it brief. I mentioned in my previous report last week that was sent out over email that I was going to be posting a schedule with the senator reports up in the office. I've decided against that simply because I've received so many changes to that schedule. I don't think there's going to be much point to it when I post up a schedule and then within the next week the schedule is completely different. So we're going to hold on that. If you do have questions about when you're scheduled and you need a reminder, go ahead and email me, text me, message me on Facebook, whatever. I can give you a reminder that way. And of course, I'll continue to send out those emails on Monday, letting people know if they have their senator report scheduled for that week, and of course the time, any sort of time constraints that there are on that. Otherwise, I've been a little bit slow with the implementation of committee correspondence and that sort of thing. I've had a pretty busy last couple of weeks, but that is something that I'm going to be reaching out to the coordinators about later on this week to discuss and get going. And the calendar that I will be posting up in the office will be that of when we have the committee report schedule going. We have student affairs and academic affairs switching off every week, but I also want to get a schedule that has like CSU committee, diversity, legislative affairs, PR, marketing on a schedule so people can see those in advance as well. And that's something that I'll be working on and actually getting going on tomorrow and the following day. That's all I have. Is there any questions on this or on last week's report? All right, seeing none, perfect. That means we can move right into senator reports. So, Senators Emma Zellmer and Emily Albright, you will be going first. And as a reminder, since there are more than one of you, you have a combined total of 8 minutes since we're combining both of your 4-minute sessions into one.
Great. All right, hello. So today, Senator Zellmer and I are just going to give you a quick update of what we and our other residential life senators have been up to. We've taken a big step on October 15th. we attended the RHA meeting and we distributed a survey hoping to get feedback from those students. The survey asks questions such as, which res hall do you live in? Do you have any suggestions to improve student life in the res halls? Do you have any suggestions to improve security in the res halls? Do you have any suggestions or other ideas that you'd like to see changed in relation to residential life? And are there any other issues that you see across campus as a whole? We distributed these surveys during our Senate report and then collected them later in the meeting. And now Senator Zelmer will give you an update about what some of the responses we got were.
Yeah, so we did have a better turnout than we thought with getting the surveys back. I know a lot of students either left early or were just lazy and didn't fill it out. So we got about a 75% return rate with at least 1 or 2 questions answered. So these are for Stadium Heights, McElroy, Presca, Sears, all the on-campus residence halls. So there were a few ones that we couldn't necessarily cover, but the ones that I really wanted to bring to your guys' attention, and if you guys want to see these results, I do have them on an Excel spreadsheet that I can share with you all. But the big ones that we're concerned with personally are the security ones. So security life in the res halls, people were talking about security cameras in the hallway. We have a meeting coming up this week with Cindy Jady about what exactly we can do with that, because there are some stipulations on whether or not we can do that. Beyond that, we've also been talking a little bit more about guest check-in, using MavCard to operate the elevator, and checking that doors are locked and other things along those lines with the beginning of the res halls. But across campus as a whole, we got a lot of security feedback as well. People wanted smaller bus waits, and especially people from Stadium Heights said that a lot, and I'm sure off-campus senators would know that as well, because even on campus, someone who doesn't have a car, such as myself, we wait about every hour for a new bus route, and it could be a little bit less than that, so we're going to talk about that. Beyond that, one of the major things they noticed was accessibility for handicapped people. A lot of the places on campus have stairs that are required to get into it, and a lot of us don't experience this personally, but it does affect our constituents. So we need to make sure we are looking into that a little bit more, and I will be in contact with the person that submitted that one just to see specifically what they were seeing. Beyond that, more security blue light poles. So those are the ones where, like in the parking lots per se, you can go up and you can get a security guard to help with the Safe Lock program and other things beyond that. Multiple people came back for something along those lines of wanting more of those if possible, as well as more lights as well. Other things, just in the res hall specifically, a lot of people have been talking about adding things to kitchens, which is a little bit of a price thing that we can see. So if you guys hear anything else about that, that'd be great if you would like to know more about what specifically was brought up. Because other than that, one of the big ones was to improve bathrooms in the community residence halls that have community bathrooms. So we'll be looking more into that later this week during our meeting, and also in upcoming RHA events. We're there every week, so we do hear what's happening, and then we will relay that information back to you guys. Is there anything else? No. No? Any questions?
Floor is open for questions. Seeing none, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Next, we have a committee report from Student Affairs.
Alright, so my name is Samson. There's no mic, so I'm the Student Affairs Coordinator, and I'm just going to give a little bit of report on what we've been working on so far. So on October 3rd, we had Sandy coming to speak to us. I'm not going to mess up the last name, but we had Sandy come to speak to us, and we pretty much just went over like some of the things Senator just talked about with the res life in terms of like extra security on campus, like more street lights and things like that. We also talked about like the blue pole and try to see if we can increase that. But Sandy let us know that some of that is due to funding. You want me to move to the mic?
Yeah.
All right, so like I was saying, we had a meeting with Sandy, and she pretty much just kind of like talked to us about a little bit of what we could we spoke to her about what we're working on, and she pretty much kind of like gave us feedback and like some of the things that we could do and how we can make that better. And then also on October 10th, we had a meeting with Patty Grant, which is the insurance coordinator for MSU. And pretty much we talked about the insurance for international students that I reported about earlier during the semester. Pretty much right now they're in the process of going from a plan they're on right now to a different plan. So right now the plan they're on is about to expire this year. So there's about to be a new plan for like the insurance program going into place starting next fall, like fall next year. So pretty much right now they have a committee set up, pretty much trying to like listen to like all the students' concerns and things like that, and try to like come up with a formidable plan for next year. On that committee, we have 2 members from Student Affairs sitting on that committee as well. So anything we talk about in our meetings, like we can tell that person, and that person can also take it back to that committee as well. So that's something we're working on right now. And then also in that meeting, she was able to talk to us about like the benefits of the current insurance plan. So a lot of talk was like we had a lot of conversation about what that insurance actually covers and like what the benefits are and why it's a requirement for students to get that specific insurance. Personally, I feel like after that meeting, we were able to like resolve a lot of those concerns, especially because she was able to give us like details about like what the insurance actually covers, and like also, for example, like there was a situation that was brought up with the skin cancer problem. That was actually something that we were able to like ask her about, and she was able to actually like tell us that that's something that should have been covered in the insurance plan they got. So like just trying to like work between like those kind of miscommunications between like what's actually being said to students and what the belief is being said. Does that make sense? So and then the resolution for that right now is we're trying to like work with her to come up with a better option in terms of like creating more choice for students. That way it's not just going to be one insurance plan. Like right now we do understand that that's a really good insurance because it covers a lot, but just giving the students the ability to like choose their own insurance plan, even if it's for sure that we know that it's like the one we're on right now is a good plan for sure, but just from a student perspective, just being able to be given that choice, but it's not like a requirement for you to use that specific one. You can go choose a different one. So that's something we're working on right now to try to come up with a plan for. So on that, I'll wait for questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your report. Next is Senator Andrade Lara.
Hello everyone, my name is Oscar Andrade Lara, and I'm the Senator for the College of Education. As a Senator for the College of Education, my first initiative was to break the divide between the College of Education and the college of which those students are following that content area in. So for example, I'm a Spanish education major, so I pertain to both the College of Education and the College of Arts and Humanities, which falls under Spanish. So along with that, I wanted to find a solution to some overlapping within scheduling of classes, bring the work that I was doing with the College of Education to a bigger voice, which is student government, and ultimately be a voice for students within the College of Education. So over the past month, I've made myself present to these students, or the constituents, through a variety of ways. I have attended different programs organized by the College of Education, such as the Scholarship Banquet and the College of Education Picnic. Over the past month, I've also developed my own ideas on a couple issues and met with Dean Haar. One of the biggest challenges that we are focusing on is making it easier for students to go out and complete their field experiences. Oftentimes, some of the issues they struggle with is finding proper attire and the transportation from there to here. So they could be placed as far as an hour away, which is Owatonna for reference. And so they would have to commute every day to that school and back home, typically in Mankato. The overlapping of classes, I've joined the Common Bell work group along with President Cronin. and I'm planning a professional development seminar for students within the SPED, Special Education Program, Elementary Ed, and KSP, which is Kindergarten through Secondary Programming, for them to collaborate and integrate the things that they have learned in their classes to further develop their own learning. What's to come is I have meetings with the 3 chairs of the departments of the SPED, Elementary, and KSP programs, along with Dean Haar, to discuss some issues that pertain to the specific constituents within those 3 groups. With that, I yield the questions.
Floor is open for questions. Seeing none, thank you for your report. Next, we have Senators Sam Mitchell and Annabelle Sampson.
Hi everyone, I am Senator Sam Mitchell. I'm an off-campus senator.
And I am Annabelle Sampson. I am one of the off-campus senators. So our report is on a survey we wanted to send out to off-campus students, and we just wanted to get like an idea about some of their living conditions and some of the lifestyles they have off-campus. This will help us like prioritize some of the projects we were working on. So we spoke to John Bocock, who is the Assistant Director of Off-Campus Housing. Yeah. And he gave us some ideas to like help us narrow some of the questions we wanted to ask. And then like he gave us information and some ideas we can like include in the survey we wanted to send out.
Yeah, so John actually sent out a survey in 2012 to off-campus students, and we're going to be incorporating some of those questions that he asked students then. And so some of those questions are going to be what type of housing the student lives in. Are they renting a house? Are they renting an apartment? Are they living with parents? Do they own their own home? And if they're renting with a company, who they're renting with. So are they renting with Rent MSU or Live Active or whoever? What is their average commute time to campus in miles and in minutes? And how they're commuting to campus? Are they driving? Are they taking the bus? Are they walking? Are they biking? And are they satisfied with how they are getting to campus? So are people that are taking the bus, do they want to take the bus? Why are they taking the bus when they don't want to, etc. What their cost of bills per month are. So how much is their rent on average costing them? How much is their utilities costing them? How much are they paying in phone bills or groceries? How much money are they spending eating out? And then the other types of questions we'll be asking is what factors they consider when they pick where they're living off campus. So is it cost? Is it proximity to campus? Is it proximity to shopping? Is it where their parents want them to live? Is it based off of the reputation of the company? And then if they are planning on living in the same place next year, why or why not? And then we'll also be asking about the biggest issues that the constituents are facing. So are they more concerned about their transportation to campus? Are they concerned about food insecurity? Are they concerned about safety getting to campus? Do they feel safe walking to the parking lots or walking to nearby apartment complexes? Are they aware of mental health initiatives, and are they connected that way? And more importantly, do they know about the resources that are available to them? I think when students move off campus, I know this is something that I personally experienced. I felt very connected to campus when I lived in the dorms, and once I moved off, there was a big disconnect that kind of formed, and even though I felt like I knew where resources were when I lived on campus, now I don't, and I don't exactly know where to go for some things. So do they know about the bus app? Do they know about the SNAP program that's available? Or other food insecurity resources like the campus kitchen? Do they know about the counseling center and stuff like that? Yeah, so we would like to get the survey out within the next couple weeks. We're drafting the survey now, and it has to be reviewed before it can be distributed. So hopefully by the end of the semester for sure, we'll have this out to students. Yield to questions.
Floor is open for questions. Senator Garton.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So is this survey going to all off-campus students, or is it just going to select few?
Ideally, all students.
All of them?
Yeah.
And then are the questions open-ended or multiple choice where they haven't?
There will be a variety. So some of them will be like a checkbox. Some of them will ask them to explain why they answered certain questions the way they did. Like, for example, so how they are getting to campus will be, are you driving, are you walking, are you biking? But are you satisfied with how you're getting to campus? Yes or no, and then why?
All right, thank you.
Senator Landis.
I was just wondering, what is the overall intent and purpose? Like, what is this building towards?
So we all know there are a lot of big picture issues that our students are facing. So this is going to help us kind of figure out where we need to put our energy first and where our students right now are really actually feeling it. So is food insecurity the biggest issue? Is transportation or security the biggest issue? And it's just to kind of help us prioritize and be more effective with the projects that we're working on.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your report. Next, we have a report from Senator Moeen.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great time. Can I see hands who is not having a great time here? Okay, I guess everyone is having a good time. So, before 3 years ago, by this time, one guy named Jose Mashahid, he went to Kharkovsky with 20 signs, like 50 petitions like signs, and with 20 people to get halal options for Muslims, because halal makes so that Muslims can eat. So because of that, they gave 2 options, like halal beef patties and halal chicken patties. So as it's been long, since 3 years, so my constituents told me that they need more options. So what happened, I went to Nate, who is the executive chef in University Dining Center. I told him that we need more options. So he told me that they need a week to talk with the executive members so that see that if they can manage it. But after that, he said that they can't because it was a wastage before. And a special thanks to Mimi, because she told me that to bring some solution also to give them so that they can solve that problem. So I and Nate sat down, and then we thought that how about we can use that beef patties and mix with corn and tomato and make it as a soup. So by that way, we were able to make one dish to halal options named halal beef chili. So we got that in halal options, and I'd like to present this victory to all of our senators and students, because we were able to make some positive changes to our students. So yeah, that's all from me, and yield for questions.
Floor is open for questions. Senator Garton.
Is this option in the new dining hall, or is it in Maverick or both?
No, it's new University Dining Center.
Dining center.
Mm-hmm. But you have to tell to Nate it takes 30 minutes, so you guys have to figure that out.
Special request.
Yeah. Because they said that it takes time, to or waste food, so that's what they were thinking to. If you request especially, then they will make it within 30 minutes. So, and also special thanks to Nate.
Senator Christensen.
Thank you. So right now this is in the res life. Are you planning for your next step to make it like in the CSU, those options there? Are you going to send out a survey to see if that would be a popular decision, popular choice? Like, what's your next step then, since it's only in the res life area?
So what happened, like my constituents told me that they need options in University Dining Center because they're I guess most of them goes there because they know it's a buffet. So that's what my position right now. But I'll see that what are the other options my constituents tell me. So.
Senator Moore, did you still have a question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So I guess I don't know if I'm misunderstanding. If there's a lot of waste that was reported by the executive staff, why are your constituents complaining about options if there's a lot of, I guess I'm just not connecting how there's a lot of waste, but there's also a need for more options. It seems those aren't connected to me.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what happened, like when I talked with a guy named Josema, he told me that they only had chicken patties and halal beef patties, and also they had a chicken frank, I believe. So what happened that I guess there was only 3 options, but they're saying I don't see that there was a connection, so I didn't talk with him about that. I was just, like Mimi told that we have to bring some solutions to the table. So that's why I was thinking to add something, like to utilize whatever we have and make something new. So that's why we got with the idea about halal beef chili.
Senator Moeen, would you consider yielding to Vice President Oben Falami, who has a comment?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so the issue is that they were like making the food and then like not enough people eat halal, that it's going to waste. So it's like we need more options because we eat halal, but also like we don't need you to make surplus of halal because there's only like 8 of us or 10 of us or 30. You know what I mean? So like they need more variety, but like they were making the food in too much quantity at the time, so the rest of it was going to waste.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I'd like to add one comment on that. What I understood, like from Josema, that they only made that, chicken frank, like that was also, a special order, but they also removed it now. So I guess there wasn't any wastage, but for the sake of comment, I guess I just thought that I have to bring some new solution so that they also agree, because that the university dining doesn't agree with your all solution, because Josema, he took 50 signatures and he also took 20 people at Friday. He told me that, and then they were just okay, we'll see next week, but then they approved 2 options.
Senator Sampson.
I have 2 questions.
Go for it.
So my first question is, what do you mean by constituents? And then the second question is, do you know, like, is there a particular number you are talking about, or does everyone know that they have halal options available to them at the university?
So it's about the Muslim students, so who eats halal food. Do you know about halal or? Okay, so the thing is that halal food, so it's for Muslim students, but you guys also can eat it. It's not allowed for you guys. So it's like for Muslims that they have a religious restriction, so they can eat it. So yeah, I believe that we have more than 200 students here, Muslim students. So last Friday, I just told to our Muslim students, like in prayer, that we have halal options. So, yep.
I'll take one more question.
I have like a comment question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to like you continue to move forward with this work, one thing that like is kind of a red flag in my head is the fact that it takes 30 minutes, just because I know that students, you're coming between classes, you're trying to eat quick, and so if they're eating halal, I personally think that like how can we reduce that time to maybe even like 15, so that way like if they're in a rush, they can grab that food instead of having to wait half an hour to get something to eat. So like, if you continue to do the work on that, that's something that I would like you to consider.
Yeah, so what happened, like, I tried to tell it to our Juma prayer this time that I have, Nate told me that you can have my work phone, and he gave it to me so that before, you come, you can just call him or let him know that I need this amount quantity, because, it takes time to make it. And it was his courtesy that he's making it's not his job, but he's also doing that for us to make it like with the halal corn and tomato soup.
All right, we have a busy agenda to get to, so I'm going to get off there. Thank you for your report.
Thank you, guys. Please remain seated. That's not necessary.
Senators Shazal and Balami, you are next.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? I'm not going to take that much time, but anyway, hello everybody. I'm Mohammed Sajol. I'm one of the off-campus center, and this is Sajay Balami. He's one of the off-campus center as well. We're just gonna go straight to the point. We've been working with the bus app that everybody's pretty much like familiar with, I guess, so far. And we actually have some like quick updates on it. And since everybody know that we had like a joint presentation on 26th of September on behalf of our school and also the city bus services, we actually. So there's a note to be like, there's actually like a catch in there. The bus application that we have is like a hybrid option, which is like associated with our university website. It's not actually an app right now. And also it's not like technically public yet. That presentation was mostly intended to like for us to know and to get an idea what that bus application looks like and what's that about mostly. And it actually gonna take a little bit more time because there's like a lot of technical procedures and everything. So to come up with a full functional app, an actual app that you can like download to your phones or something like that. We haven't like decided the exact time yet, but hopefully we'll be having that by like next week, by end of like January or February mostly. But yeah, there's a couple of other points that I like to add, which is like we have some like feedback that actually came from the students, and we have some additional like proposals, so we like to add them, like in order to like make them more like understandable to the users. And one of the proposals is like keep all the routes listed, even they're not active. So currently, if you go to the app, if you go to the website right now, you can see if the bus is not running. If a certain route is not running today, if you click on it, it's not shown on the list right now. But that actually creates a little bit of problem. Like if you have like a plan to make ahead. Since like a lot of us like to make like a plan ahead, since like for like Sundays or like maybe weekends or maybe like Friday or whatsoever that is. And there's a couple of other new routes that have been added, like most particularly two. One is like Route 7, which goes to downtown, and another one is like Route 23, which actually like Sunday bus service that actually included in the bus app right now. And also there's another recommendation that we made was to like provide more description about the routes. It's not only like, for example, it's not like only like 1A south route or something like that. We like to have like more option in that, which is like which can be like mentioned like the time, the duration, the location where it goes and everything. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And so far we didn't have any crashes so far, which is a good thing for us. And since that presentation was made, it has gone in a way like viral, I would say, like, that bus link that we provided was shared among the students, senators, friend of ours and everything. And that actually did a good thing for us. Like it got us a chance to like test it, like stress test it in technical terms. And yeah, so far so good, it's going good, and we did some promotional work, and Sanjay Balami will like put some light onto it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mohammed, and hello to all of you. So about the promotions and all those things, people usually don't know. They've kind of heard about it, Route 7 and Route 23, but like it seems like many of the people don't know that exactly where it is and how can you hop in and what exactly the bus look like. So So I went to a meeting to adjourn an assembly of International Student Associations back in Thursday, and I do promote about the bus Route 7, where exactly does that go, and we hand over some of the templates and the browsers of the Route 7. And if you guys don't know what the color of the bus is, it's white, because like people usually they were expecting a bus to be in purple. Yeah, to be in the purple, and they saw the white bus, but they didn't know that it was really Route 23. So like we went to I gave some the handout to them, and like so the boss and to all the leaders of the different RSOs was involved, and I highly suggested them to tell about the bus and the route systems of the new buses to the community, so which I think will be fruitful, and I'm looking forward to go to again for the General Assembly meeting to get some feedback about it. So, and Sausal and I was planning, why not we do the tabling promotions for not only, we are kind of like go into the tables and hand out the browsers we have to utilize those to the students, and like they can ask any questions about the different bus routes or anything about that. And if we have a time, like I'm planning to open a contributions hour for the international students to be a part and do some videos about the bus, which they will explain about where it goes, and which will be again fruitful and promotive to all the international as well as the person who is using for this bus.
Well, that's the end. We're open to question. By the way, this is my first Senate meeting, so I do apologize if I made a mistake. Questions?
First Senator report, you mean, right? You've been here. All right, the floor is open for questions. Vice President Ogunfalami.
Just like a thought, sorry, not really a question, more of a thought. I've been thinking about the land to air bus, because I do tours, so I mentioned it on the tour. Is there a way, and maybe you're looking into this, but with the brochure, with the online platform, having information about it? Because the main platform for information on it is going to the online website, but I feel like if you could just put there's a land to air bus, here's the times, go online to pick a time, at least people then know oh, I can get to Rochester, I can get to the cities that way too.
Your thought is taken. We'll work on it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you both for your report. That concludes our senator reports. We will now move into a vacancy election for the residential life senator position. I believe we had one candidate fill out the form. Is our candidate with us today?
Yeah.
Perfect. You may proceed to the podium. So basically how this is going to work, I'm going to give you a couple minutes for you to do an introduction, introduce yourself, maybe summarize some of the information that you gave us in your form, anything else that you want to add. After that, then the senators will have the opportunity to ask you questions. And following that, you'll then have closing statements and we'll proceed to vote. So you may begin your introduction when ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Teresa Redinas. I am a freshman here, and both my parents had went here as well. Right now, my major is social studies education, and then also double major in history. Some of the things I'm already involved in here, I live in McElroy, and I am on community council. We meet every Sunday, so therefore I'm also in close relations with our RHA rep. And then I'm also on the student conduct board. Some past experiences that have helped, I had done mock trial in my high school. I've been captain of other things, and just so I know some leadership stuff, and I'm very well working with others. And then also for that, I am a social studies major education. I'm very interested in history, and I'm very interested in government, so that is something of why I applied to be here. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction.
Thank you. Are there any senators who wish to ask questions? Vice President Ogunfalami.
So you speak on that one of the biggest issues you feel residents have is the connection to the community and having a voice on campus. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
I'm sorry, so what was the first part? Sorry.
So you said that like one of the biggest, what you feel is one of the biggest issues facing your res life constituency is the sense of community as well as being able to have a voice. Can you just elaborate on that a little more?
Yes, so what I meant is that there isn't a lot of people I know that on my floor that feel like they have a voice in saying like their kind of concerns. And then that also a sense of community is that I would like to work on specifically is people in the hall getting together more and not just staying in their friend groups. So that seems like there's a lot of like cliques almost, or like there's groups and they're not reaching out to get know more people, and I just want to somehow work on that.
Senator Sajal. What's your strength and weaknesses?
Well, one of my strengths is I tend to talk, and that I think that's when I'm pretty outgoing and I can work well with others. And one of my weaknesses is probably I get distracted.
Any further questions? All right. Seeing none, you have 1 minute for closing statements.
Well, I just think this would be a great opportunity, not only to further my knowledge, but also to help within my major. And also, I just think this would be a really cool way that I can voice my opinion and help voice others that maybe aren't feel comfortable and just be able to help student life and res life. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. We'll have you step out into the hallway, and then we'll call you back in once we've reached the decision. Discussion on the election is now open. Are there any senators who wish to be added to the speakers list? We can also move straight to a vote if we wish to do that. All right, I'm seeing a lot of nods. We'll go ahead and go straight into the vote then. So again, your options are to either vote in favor of the candidate or to vote no confidence. You can write it down on a scratch piece of paper, and John and I will come around and collect.
Motion to do a placard raising instead.
I like that. Second. All right, seconded by multiples. We'll vote by placard. So all in favor of electing the candidate, raise your placards. All opposed? Abstentions? All right, perfect. Thank you for the motion. That was better. All right, well, someone can go ahead and bring our candidate back in. You may proceed to the podium. Congratulations, you have been elected as the new resident. Please raise your hand in oath-like fashion and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Teresa Redinas,
will represent and serve the students of Minnesota State University Mankato in student life and academic need and will uphold the mission Constitution and bylaws of the student government. I so affirm. Thank you. You should have an open seat somewhere on the table. You can go ahead and be seated. That concludes our elections. I will now also at this time announce an at-large vacancy. We have a vacancy for an at-large Senate position, which will be held on the 7th of November. Remind me, that's not a day that we're doing kickball, is it? No. Or anything like that? No, we have a full session that day? Perfect. So that'll be held on the 7th of November. All right. That being said, we will then move straight into new business. We have a motion to discuss. The motion reads as follows. Okay. Is it like completely changed or?
It's I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I'll go ahead and have so we have a motion from President Cronin. We're going to go throw up on the dot cam. It's different than the motion you have on your agenda, so ignore that. We'll be seeing it here shortly.
Is there a dot cam?
Yes.
Where?
It's at the ceiling.
Wow.
While we're waiting for the doc cam to get running, since this is our first motion, I'll just explain the process a little bit. So first off, we'll recognize Mimi Cronin, who will then present her motion. It will then require a second, and then we're going to open it for discussion. We're going to vote on the motions next week. So for this session, we will be discussing it. Then we'll continue to discuss it outside of the Senate session. And then next week, we'll open it up for discussion again and then vote on it. Does that make sense to everyone? Perfect. All right. So, President Cronin, you have been recognized, and you may proceed with stating your motion when ready.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the motion says, whereas the opportunity to construct a seasonal indoor recreational sports facility has been a topic of conversation for several years, and whereas a timely opportunity to secure supplemental funds for the project through a bond at the Minnesota state system level has been presented, making it possible to complete the project at an overall lower direct cost to students, and whereas the remainder of the cost of the facility construction can be paid through a new student fee amounting to 83 cents per credit, capped at $996 per semester per student for a period of 10 years. Now therefore be it resolved, the student government at Minnesota State University Mankato supports putting forth a ballot initiative allowing students the chance to decide whether or not to support the assessment of this new fee, allowing the building of the seasonal indoor recreational sports facility to move forward, and be it further resolved, the student government supports moving forward with the ballot initiative in November or December 2018, rather than waiting until an annual April election, allowing ample time for the fee, should it be passed by student vote, to be considered for approval by the Minnesota State Board of Trustees so that it can begin being collected in fall of 2019. So this is different from the one that is on your paper.
Sorry, President Cronin, we'll have we'll open up discussion on the motion, but it requires a second before it can be brought to the floor. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Senator Moy. All right, we'll now open a speakers list for discussion. President Cronin, to your motion.
Okay, so like I mentioned, this is different than the one on the paper agenda, but this one obviously has more clarity and more information. So what this is basically saying is that we as student government would put forward the initiative to allow for a referendum for students to decide, not necessarily that we support nor not support the fee, just that we give the chance to students on this campus to decide whether or not they would like to support the fee being created in order to help aid in the building of an indoor recreational sports facility. As well as the FAQ that I passed out that was graciously created by Todd, Fingston, and Kevin, explains some more information about what exactly the indoor sports recreational facility would be. If you can recall, for those of you that were here when they gave the presentation about a month ago, with how it would be funded, what the purpose of it and what it is, where the location would be, and why right now is an opportune moment for our school to build this in Mankato. So with that, I yield.
The speakers list is open. Please contain your conversation to whether or not student government should support the creation of this referendum. If you want like specific details on the sports bubble itself, that would be something that you could refer questions to either John or Todd, or to your FAQ sheet here. But so the motion is on whether or not we will support a referendum. John, did you have a comment?
Mr. Speaker, may I speak to just the process and why this motion's even on the table? And for how ballot initiatives go to the students for voting and that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay. There are 4 ways by which this can happen. It can happen by a vote of 60% of this body to go to a referendum. It can go as an initiative of the student body president. It can go as an initiative of the university president. Or it can be brought forth by an initiative of 250 signatures from students. Okay? So those are the 4 ways that it's either a referendum or an initiative can be put forth for a ballot vote by your fellow students. Okay? And so this is one of those methods by which there's going to be an attempt to put this to a vote for your students. Okay? So just letting you know process-wise how that happens and why we are where we are. Okay? So according to your Constitution, those are the ways that this can happen.
All right, so we will proceed with the speakers list. Senator Moy, as you did second the motion, you are next on the speakers list to talk if you so desire.
I just was wondering, if student government does not vote in favor of this, how is the money supplemented if it's not going to be 83 cents a credit? So where is that money coming from in the event that it does not pass?
And is that a question directed towards President Cronin?
Yes.
So, that is a question that I don't have the answer to, but this motion doesn't refer to whether or not that would happen. This motion refers to whether or not we will have an initiative vote in November or December that will allow students to input their voice on this project and whether or not they want to create a fee. So right now we're not really discussing whether or not we support the building of this facility and if we would all vote yes or no in that potential referendum, just whether or not it will happen in November or December.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Senator Quinton.
I just had a quick question. It might be for Private Todd. Because the last time you guys spoke to us about this, the revenue stream was talked about. It's something that you guys remember I was just wondering if that.
So it'll be under one of your questions, but to answer it, it's on your FAQs. $2 million in revenue bonds are available from the state of Minnesota now. So the time is really right. And then the other piece of it would be, matching funds potentially by student fees if a referendum happens and it's passed.
Could we repeat what your question was, Senator Quinton? There are some folks that didn't hear us.
So my question was pretty much, how's the revenue stream coming to support the sports bubble?
So the question was on the revenue stream for the sports bubble. Okay, perfect. Senator Landis.
I have a process question and then maybe a content question.
Okay.
Process might go to John, might go to you. But as far as referendum votes go, I understand that by this motion, we'd probably be saying yes or no. But does a referendum have to be a yes or no, or can we present 3 different options to students, or several different options? A referendum, yeah, that's my process question.
I'll yield to you on that, John.
Whatever happens has to pass by a majority of those voting, so I would only put a yes or no, because otherwise if you do it, you're going to have a vote that could result in not a majority supporting any of them, and then nothing happens. So I would put it forward. That would be my recommendation, is to put forth a yes or a no.
Okay.
Senator Landis, would you yield to President Cronin for further comment? Sure.
Yeah, so one of the requirements of this would be that half of the students who voted in the April election would need to vote in this referendum for it to be valid. So that, I think, is 1,000 something. And if that was wanted, that would be something, if this were to be passed for that referendum, the motion would have to be changed to include whatever those options would be, if that makes sense. But alluding to what John said, like getting 1,000 students to vote in a non-annual election already poses a challenge. So getting 60% of students to vote in the direction of one answer, in addition to that being reaching the number needed, would just need to be considered whether or not it would be effective.
You got a follow-up question as well?
Yes. So then, a couple of weeks ago, when this was presented, Todd, you made mention that the vendor was potentially interested in just funding the bubble, but that there would be some issue with that if the students didn't necessarily put forth the student fee, that the vendor would have some control over the use of the facility. My question is, was there ever discussion or negotiation down another option where this university puts up this $2 million that the university has tapped and set aside for the use of this project, and then the vendor supplies the other half, therefore splitting the operational costs, the revenues, the responsibility scheduling, et cetera, and to see what that kind of relationship would look like.
Senator Landis, when you say the vendor, I believe you're talking about Mark Bigelbach, who I think Mark Bigelbach would be the private developer. He initially wanted to put up the whole facility. No, we've not talked to him about that. And your point was whether or not the university would come with $2 million and then the private developer would fund the rest of it. We've not had that conversation, no. We didn't think about that as an option. Could potentially be an option, but again, you lose a little ownership because he's looking at this is a business venture for him and he wants to make revenue, he wants to make money off of it, so we're losing probably some access. And that's really the reason why we didn't want to go down that road. For him to do the whole project, for sure, was because we would lose ownership and he'd be renting it to the general public, the community, during his revenue during primetime hours, and that would be potentially between 5 and 9 p.m.
Senator Akinton.
I usually don't.
All right. Senator Hoysett.
I think we can ask questions all day about what we think the best plan is for this, and obviously the athletics program has put forward this proposed because they have really thought about this and think that this is the best option for us, and they know a million times more about this than any of us do right now. So we can keep asking questions about the best program and the best thing to do, but obviously they have put in the work for this. So I think we just have to decide if we think that the students can be responsible to decide what they want to do, what they want to pay money for. So I think we should just move and all agree that this is, ultimately up to the students to decide if they want to pay this extra fee in order to get this service from them. And like Brendan said, we can debate all about what we think is best. But I think that can happen in our private lives when we as students then get to vote in this referendum. Thank you.
Senator Landis.
With all due respect, I think that the committee obviously has the most knowledge, and then after that we have some information, we have some knowledge as well. For it to get to students who will, let's face it, have the least amount of knowledge about this to make a final decision, I believe that the choices that we should be providing students should be weighed heavily, so that we're presenting a referendum that has two potentially good choices for students, rather than allowing the 1,000 people who don't know very much about this initiative to just make the coin flip.
Senator Thompson, did you wish to speak? Speakers list remains open. Senator Landis, I'll give you one more shot.
One more shot? Thanks so much. Well, then I'd like to refer to two of the frequently asked questions. If you'd all go to the second page, point 7 and point 9. Point 7 and 8, my apologies. So this is, these are questions directly related to the 83 cents per credit hour proposal. In point 8, this proposal, the motion says that the remainder of the cost of the facility construction can be paid through a new student fee, amounting 83 cents per credit hour, capped at $9.96 per semester per student for a period of 10 years. Point 8 explains that the seasonal bubble/dome fabric has a life expectancy of 20 years and an estimated replacement cost of $450,000 in today's dollars. Would only include outside membrane, with all other structures presumed useful. The synthetic turf should last 12 to 15 years with an approximate cost of $400,000 to $500,000, depending on field size. Repair and replacement dollars will be set aside in the fund for each year. So what I'm curious about is that if this proposal for a 10-year for 10 years includes almost $1 million in replacement and repair costs that aren't going to be incurred until 12 to 20 years from now, why ask for so much, particularly when 12 to 20 years down the road, we may be looking at an entirely different structure. We may not want a seasonal bubble anymore. So my question to our group here is, should we support 83 cents, or is that not?
And when it comes to points on the athletic bubble itself, such as that, I would encourage, if there are any further questions, to bring that to the attention of our student representatives on the athletic bubble task force committee, so that they can have a more detailed discussion about that with directors Finkston and other representatives from administration who would know that sort of information. Todd, I'll yield to you to answer that question in a second. I do want to re-emphasize that we're wanting to limit this discussion to whether or not we will support this going to a referendum. We could perhaps discuss whether the process would allow for us to adjust the answers on that referendum somewhat, but keeping it to that specifically, I want to re-emphasize. We can have a discussion between now and the next session on whether or not we as individuals support it, but I think we should underline that the question of this motion specifically is that referendum. Todd, did you want to speak to that last comment?
Senator Landis, great question. That's we'll have to go back and take a look at the pro forma. We'll have conversation with Vice President Straka and Jones and talk about this question because it's very valid.
That being said, if there are any other statements, Senator Moy.
I think that this matter goes about basically whether or not we want to allow students to vote on the 83 cents per credit and whether or not we want them to vote on that, or if we as a Senate body want to vote on it. So that's really what we're voting about. So I would challenge all of you to think about that and come prepared with your vote next week.
Vice President Ogunsalami.
Going off of that, this is being tabled until next week, so this is just to get you guys thinking about it. So, if there are concerns, reach out to your constituency ahead of time and be like, hey, maybe not give them the full details, but be like, there's this idea, it would be a fee increase. What do you guys think of that? And let them know, so that way, because this vote is for them, but if you come back and like, yo, nobody's for it, then that's our option, right? But if people are like, I'm willing to see it in a referendum and to see what it means, then, that's another option too.
That being said, I would at this time entertain a motion to table discussion on this to next week. Senator White?
Motion to table the issue till next week.
Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Akinton. All in favor of tabling discussion on the motion to next week? Raise your placards now. All opposed? Abstentions? Excellent. So we'll bring that up again next week for further discussion and a vote. That concludes our new business. We will now move into announcements.
I just have one quick point on 20. We don't have this document on the Campus Rec website yet, but we will. We can put it on as early as tomorrow.
Are there any announcements? Vice President Ogunsalami.
I've talked a lot today. I apologize, guys. One thing I did want to just put in your guys' heads is, I know registration's kind of happening. You're kind of preparing or getting ready to register for your classes for the upcoming semester. I just want to make sure you all are aware that you are senators. That is an issue that does happen. People book classes. If you can, work your schedule to make time for this, that'd be great. If you do, have classes where you can't, that's obviously understandable. But just keep that in mind, because sometimes that does become a big issue within Senate. Also, good luck registering.
Any further announcements? John?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm putting my student activities hat on. The Honda Takeover is taking place on Monday night next week, so that would be a great event for folks to stop by or partake in. Also, in the housing world, our first housing fair will be Tuesday, November 6th. So those of you who are talking to first-year students in particular, or anybody who's looking for housing for next year, but our first-year students are new to this process. So mention that as a possibility for them to come check out. I've done 3, and I've got 11 more presentations over the next 2 weeks about the housing search process. So things are going swimmingly with that.
What day is that again, John?
Tuesday, November 6th, Election Day, 10 to 2. Okay, so you can come hang out with either the property managers and politicians. The last thing is regarding this process. So this is about the biggest piece of business to come before you yet this year. So again, think about it. The process-wise, you need to decide whether it goes to referendum for your student body. Okay. Second, you can also then take a stance. Should this body wish to express a public sentiment about their support or lack thereof for the actual initiative, but putting it before the students to actually vote on. That's what you look at process-wise and then opinion-wise, okay? So if there are questions, ask about it. It's been a few years since we had an initiative like this go onto the ballot. So don't be afraid to talk to people about it and ask questions of those either in the gallery or around the table. So we look forward to further the conversation.
President Cronin.
And I will send out this updated motion in an email tonight, just so that way you all have the most updated one. And if anyone wants, I can print it too in the Senate office. If you'd rather have a paper copy, just ask and I'll get that for you.
Mark, did you have a... Okay, excellent. Are there any further announcements? Senator Landis.
This weekend is our 2018 Potato Crusher Climbing Competition. Registrations are $30. We have divisions for men and women, beginners, intermediates, advanced, and open climbers. So if you've touched the wall once and it's been a while, you can come and play, be in beginner division if you'd like. If you do not wish to compete, I highly encourage, if you're on campus, 5:30 p.m. Sunday night, we'll be having our finals routes. Our advanced and open climbers will be doing some pretty impressive stuff on the wall at that time. So if you've got the free time, come on by.
Any further announcements? Do we have a Dean of the Day in the gallery who would mind standing and introducing themselves?
Hi, Matt Cecil, Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities.
Excellent. Thank you for being with us today. All right, that concludes our announcements. We will now proceed with roll call. May I say that I am impressed that it looks like we're going to be ending right on time. Well done, everyone. All right, Senator Thompson. Here. Senator Erickson. Senator Moy.
Here.
Senator Ramsey.
Here.
Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Adeniji. Senator Owusu. Here. Senator Andrade Lara.
Here.
Senator Cronk. Senator Landis.
Here.
Senator Nowinski. Senator O'Vrighty. Senator Silwall.
Here.
Senator O'Caro.
Here.
Senator Christensen.
Here.
Senator Akintan. Here. Senator Chaiti.
Here.
Senator Sajal. Here. Senator Balami. Here. Senator Garton.
Here.
Senator Sampson. Senator Moeen. Senator Mitchell.
Here.
Senator Rye. Senator Zelmer. Senator Hoysett.
Here.
Senator Roebuck.
Here.
Senator Albright.
Here.
Senator... remind me of your name again. Our new candidate.
Sorry, what? Sorry.
How do you pronounce your last name again?
Redenas.
Redenas?
Yes.
Senator Redenas.
Here.
President Cronin? Here. Vice President Ogunfalami? Here. See you all next week. Time is 5:09.